the India, the part of India that I had never seen. There was no rule of law. Anybody wanted to say anything about mining, it was forbidden. When I first held the first press conference in Bellary, after we decided to take it, the journalist told me in no uncertain terms that if you continue to use the word like looting, so on and so forth, your days are very seriously numbered. I told them, thank you very much. That certainly makes me more cautious, but not fearful. Because democracy and fear don't go together. I am from the generation of Anil Agarwal. And in our lifetime, we have sent Indira Gandhi and her son Sanjay home. This country has sent them. And today, there is an abuse of power on the largest possible scale since we became independent. And that is the challenge we face today, and that is the agenda for change that we need to address squarely. So we said, fair enough. We began with the organizing of the poor. When the first demonstration was held in the compound of DC, Deputy Commissioner of Bellary, on 25th, 2010, the 60th Republic of this country, we told those 3 cabinet ministers who have sworn by putting their hand on the constitution and taken the office and are abusing the power, they should resign if there is any sense of propriety, any sense of probity in public life is left. If they don't, the chief minister should remove them. If the chief minister doesn't have the capacity, he should also go. Because in our generation, there was a big question of who after Nehru. I think Lal Bahadur did very well and provided good governance. And last was that every single person who has gotten money from this illegal mining, paisa vasool karenge, and they will have to face the laws of this land. And that is how our struggle began, with 500 people, about 100 cyclists from the neighboring 10 districts, and the poorest of the poor and the other supporters from the urban areas in Karnataka. What we saw in clearances and things was an abuse that you would not imagine in your wildest dreams. The way the mining applications were processed, the way the leases were sanctioned, the way IBM, which is supposed to be the custodian of protecting the mineral wealth of this country and utilizing them as per the mining plan submitted to them when it is sanctioned, we're changing from 50,000 metric tons to 1 lakh to 2 lakhs to 10 lakhs. And SESA Goa, which is part of the same Vedanta, the kind of criminalities they have done. The Corporate Affairs Office of the central government has seriously indicted them. So this was the sitting, and the damage, as our friend from Northeast has told, it was very similar. So we said we are trying to change in our lifetime. It may not happen, but we are going to initiate the process. And one of the ways we did was to have a dialogue with honest government officials and other peoples of the civil society and gather all the data. And one of the great persons from the semi-government or the state institution was Santosh Shagde, who was producing a very quality good report. As much coverage as it was in the media, it only encouraged the mining mafia to increase mining, double them, triple them. There was no rule, there was nothing. Because the officers they wanted, they got them there when Chief Minister of the state, like a lamb in Delhi, in front of the opposition leader, conceded all those undemocratic and terrible demands. So this was the state of affairs. We said that when the executive branch of the government has failed and failed miserably, and so has the legislative, it is time to haul them before the highest court of the land. And that is precisely what we did. And fortunately, we had experiences of 4 excellent public interest litigations in our lifetime, in all of whom we had unprecedented successes, including the Malik Makbuja scandal in Bastar district, wherein 2 Lokayukta reports were produced and a CBI inquiry was done. So we followed on similar lines, and there's a long story, but nonetheless, thanks to the education that the Center of Science and Environment and we all across the country who joined hands for the first citizens report on state of India's environment. There's a great education of the advocates, the judges, parts of the judiciary, parts of the government, parts of the journalists, and so on and so forth. That foundation helped because the Chief Justice of India, I remember, I never forget, July 29th in my lifetime. That was the time only Prashant Bhushan, our advocate, and I, because I had gone inside the court to assist him by his side. 1.5 hour tremendous discussion took place. There was more than 60 lawyers from that side, and we were all alone. Even the Central Empowered Committee of the Supreme Court, the amicus curiae, the Attorney General, everybody sided with them. We said we do not want anything short of ban on mining, and that is period. Not just iron ore and manganese, but every other mining. Because then only you can catch the culprits, because thousands of trucks that were going every day, carrying all kinds of permits and other things, the Raj that was lasting during Gali Janardhan Reddy, that had to be stopped. And lo and behold, the court invoked precautionary principle, part of the Rio Conference, and said that it is integral part of Article 21, and they banned the mining. And next day, the Deputy Commissioner, how they were changed and all that, I would like to share with activists from around the country. जिस तरह से हमने अच्छे लोगों को ठीक जगह पर लाया, और जिस तरह से सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जो ऑर्डर था, उसको पॉइंट बाय पॉइंट जो जिंदल में गया था, 59 bogies of, we got them back and criminally charged. And today, the illegal mining has come to a grinding halt. They're all hovering there on the other side. Number two, a scientific study has been ordered by the ICFI, and that is where the challenge is, and I want CEC and then, Center for Science and Environment and friends like Himanshu to help us, because what we want is basically the kind of monitoring committee and thing that you're saying. We are putting it in the court, but we want the precedents that you mentioned about Sardar Sarovar and others. So we need to really bring them in, because while everybody is talking about industry and their production being stopped and everything, development coming to a grinding halt, they're not talking about affected people. They're not talking about their livelihood needs. They're not talking about the tremendous damage done to the health of the people, health of the animals, health of the environment there. And other day, when all mining industry was trying to, basically defend each other, the Chief Justice said, you get your act together and speak in voice. Otherwise, this mining ban will continue indefinitely. And all the rehabilitation and reclamation, paisa has to be sent by the miners. Now, this is how the story ends. When Anil, Sunita and I, we fought about 75,000 acres of land in Karnataka, the same very Supreme Court gave way in the middle. And we had to take to the people's power, which is what we have begun in the DC compound of Bellary, and we have to strengthen that, and we have to wage a political battle. And that political battle is what is needed, not just in Bellary or Chitradurga and Tumkur, where the ban now exists, or in Karnataka, but in all of India. Because this, our previous generation, gave their lives, gave everything they had to bring freedom to this country. And if our generation doesn't do enough to preserve it, at least make a very sincere attempt at it, then what will the future generations speak about us? And the next is on all of you. It is very wonderful to see young people here. But one thing I would like to add, particularly from my activist friends, is treat everybody with dignity and respect. The same dignity and respect that you expect from the other side. No matter how great sinners they are, how perpetrators, let the laws of the land, let the ethics of the society take way, not us. And as Nelson Mandela said, when he went to Robben Island, he was obsessed with the liberation of the oppressed. But he said, I am thinking equally prominent is liberation of the oppressors. They are either part of their prejudice or part of their greed and connivance, whatever kinds of things there are. So we need to have these dialogues. 2,500 years ago, Socrates laid the foundation with the youth in Greek, and that was the foundation for democracy. So these dialogues are extremely vital. And moderator, I will just finish it very quickly. In 1997, when this Mr. 15%, Kamal Nath, giving us Indira Gandhi Parivartana Puraskar, the highest award in 1992. I am sure Anil had a great hand in it. He told us, I am not going to give precious lands of my country to the paper and pulp industry. But clandestinely he was having dialogue with them, and he was giving, 2 million hectares of land. And my friend Madhu Sarin is here, and Usha Rai, journalist friend, gave us the information. We fought with him like anything, and the greatest contributing factor was the dialogue that Center for Science and Environment arranged, and that Anil took the lead. And those dialogues are extremely important part of democracy. The same man who was trying to use all the crooked means to get his ends, we had the upper hand, Anil and I, because National Forest Policy doesn't permit that, Article 4.9. Forest Conservation Act doesn't permit that. People like Dr. N.C. Saxena, who was heading at that time probably the Lal Bahadur National Academy in Mussoorie, was with us, and the kind of team of us who we fought together is what these dialogues can bring about. Because there are many, many government officials, there are many others, there are many intellectuals who needs to be part of this agenda for change. And the kind of foundation that Anil has laid, Anil was highly analytical man, very intellectual, everything, but apart from all that, he was a wonderful human being who was a tower of strength for us who were fighting against all heavy odds at the ground level. T.N. Sheshan, who was the secretary, filed an affidavit in our favor in that KPL case. These were the kind of things that these dialogues can imagine, and that was the beginning of the end of the Birla strength in terms of holding on to those 75,000. So, friends, I think it is extremely crucial that all of us from all sectors, we need to have contact with each other, and I am most willing when Chandra Bhushan said in 1997 when he was traveling with Anil and remembered near Harihar Polyfibers, this is the first time that I have come back to Center for Science and Environment after that great dialogue. I am most willing, interested and keen to begin part of this process of dialogue. So let us begin that in good faith. Let us treat our opponents, our adversaries, with the same respect and dignity and engage them in dialogue. Then all these statistics and all these insights and all these, the strengths of the truth will be on our side. And I thank you very much, and those of you who would like to more about our public interest litigation and all that, I would like to share with you when we have some breaks and all that. Moderator, thank you, and I'm sorry that I exceeded a little bit.
No, thank you.